he used race to divide us from the very beginning. From the racist birther lie that the former President Barack Obama was not born in this country, to both sides in Charlottesville, to dancing around the question of whether he disavowed the former leader of the Ku Klux Klan.
There's a lot to unpack. First, let's talk about the birther lie. Again, John Heilemann, the co-author of the book Game Change, he's a lefty. He is conceding that, no, it was the Hillary campaign that questioned whether or not Barack Obama was from Africa.
With her and her campaign passing things around in the Democratic primary, Rich, now listen.
He says he is.
The Republicans are wrong for doing what they're doing. This started with Hillary Clinton, and it was spread by the Clinton team.
We're just telling
back in 2008.
Now that's Joe Scarborough, along with Mika Brzezinski, saying that it was Hillary who started it. One of the other panelists, a guy named Harold Ford. Harold Ford is a former congressman from Tennessee, a Democrat, and he had no idea that it was the Hillary campaign that started it. He was flummoxed. Also on the same panel was John Heilemann, who later on had to be encouraged to come in and confirm or dispute the assertion. And he said, unfortunately, it is true. Hillary's campaign started it.
I don't even know.
That is the truth.
Harold, don't.
But Mika, you can't tell me
this. Harold Ford. What?
Stop when the two of you are making comments. It'd be different if you have if there's a basis, an actual evidentiary basis for what you're saying, then I would agree with.
They're the ones that spread it in 2008.
I don't recall that, but if you're telling me that was the case, I just don't recall.
You don't recall that. Think about this. I don't recall that. That's because he watches CNN, he watches MSNBC, he reads the New York Times. He doesn't watch any other alternative news. He had no idea that it was the Hillary campaign that did this. What?
The basis, an actual evidentiary basis for what you're saying, then I would agree with.
If he had any evidence behind it, then that's one thing. But you know, what's your basis for saying this? You think Morning Joe and Mika just made it up?
You're making comments. It'd be different if you have if there's a basis, an actual evidentiary basis for what you're saying, then I would.
Now, if this guy is a former elected Democrat congressman, has no idea that the Hillary campaign started the birther movement, then how do you suppose everybody else feels? This guy ought to be pretty knowledgeable. Works on Wall Street. He's a lawyer. Has no blooming idea.
They're the ones that spread it in 2008?
I don't recall that, but if you're telling me that was the case, I just don't recall.
John Heilemann?
It was the case.
It was the case. Thank you, John Heilemann.
And didn't she go on 60 Minutes and not actually say no? She said, well, he says he is.
I'm offering my.
What was that?
I'm affirming the Scarborough-Brzezinski.
Okay, do you know about this?
Sorry. The other thing that Lemon said is Donald Trump would not renounce the head of the KKK, would not renounce David Duke. He wouldn't.
How do you feel about the recent endorsement from David Duke?
I didn't even know he endorsed me. David Duke endorsed me? Okay. All right. I disavow, okay? I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke. I've been doing it now for 2 weeks. You're probably about the 18th person that's asked me the question.
David Duke is a bad person who I disavowed on numerous occasions over the years.
If he said on Friday, I disavow, why ask him again on Saturday?
I'm saying to myself, how many times do I have to continue to disavow people? And the question was asked about David Duke and various groups.
On and on and on, and still you have this anchor on CNN denying that he ever rebuked David Duke and completely ignorant about the fact that it was a Hillary campaign that started this, and falsely asserts one more time that he was talking about neo-Nazis and white nationalists when he said there's good people on both sides.